Hi, friends. I'm owner and race director of the Human Potential Running Series, John LaCroix. Thank you so much for your interest in being a volunteer for one of our upcoming events. It goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway, that events like ours cannot happen without buy-in as volunteers from our community of runners, their family, friends, and strangers alike. So thank you so much for your interest in being willing to volunteer at an upcoming event. This is one of a handful of videos I've made to discuss various volunteer opportunities at HPRS. I'd like to encourage you to watch the other videos if you feel a different position may be of interest to you. This is going to be the longest of those videos by a long shot because this video covers the basics of volunteering at one of our aid stations. Now, there are two different roles at our aid stations. One is at the aid station captain, and the other is aid station support staff. The only difference between these roles is that our aid station captains serve as the main point of contact with race leadership, and they oversee picking up supplies and dropping them back off at the end of the day. You may find yourself in an assistant aid station captain role, who is really just a second body in assisting with these duties. The aid station captain should communicate with the support volunteers for your station to ensure that you have the help you need in picking up your station supplies and bringing them back at the end of the race. You don't have a truck? Maybe somebody else does. I'm not saying you need a truck, but it's certainly helpful. You might also facilitate conversation around having a theme at your aid station, keeping in mind that any decorations or costumes you may bring or buy are on your own accord and at your own risk. Now, we of course encourage you to bring the silly to your station so that it becomes a harbor of goodwill and positive vibes at the event. Some of the best aid stations in our sport, I'm reminded of Margaritaville at the Vermont 100, which is a total Jimmy Buffett themed aid station that has cheeseburgers in paradise and margaritas. I think of Ford's Bar at Western States, where the men wear dresses and they have a full bar. I'm not recommending you have a full bar. I'm just saying that it's okay to be silly and to have a theme and to have fun with your aid station. Now, the main purpose of an aid station at a trail and ultramarathon running event is as a place for runners to check in and receive whatever aid it may be to keep them moving in that one direction we all know, which is forward. Aid station volunteers play a vital role in ensuring that not only is this location present, but also ensuring that runners receive the aid and assistance they require to keep moving. Now, we've already covered the first goal of aid station volunteers, and that's ensuring that the supplies for your station are picked up and transported to the proper aid station location, as well as taking it all down and returning equipment to the pre-designated location after. Once your supplies are present at the aid station location, you'll begin the work of setting your aid station up. And this is an all hands on deck activity. Captains and support staff, you're all in on this. As part of pre-race communications, HPRS will communicate all of the supplies your station will have on hand to perform your duties. We do provide an exhaustive aid station supply list that not only includes items like tables, canopies, stoves, and utensils, but it also includes the type of food and the amounts of food that you'll have as well. Upon arrival at your aid station location, you'll begin by setting up your aid station canopy should one be provided. These canopies are 10 feet by 10 feet in size, they're pop-ups, and they tend to not do well in the wind. So we'll also provide you with a small sledgehammer and rebar tent stakes for you to use in anchoring the canopy down. Next, you'll set up your tables. We typically have two. One is for food and food prep. The other is for the water coolers, first aid, and other miscellaneous supplies. Then you'll have two water coolers, typically one blue and one red. The blue coolers, we try to only put water in them. The red coolers are what we try to put our electrolyte drink into. Please follow the directions for mixing electrolyte drink on the back of the bag. In general, we ask that you not refill this cooler until it has been emptied. In other words, you're going to start fresh. So maybe there's this much of that liquid in the bottom, you dump it out, start over. Don't try to be a mad scientist by measuring out how much mix to put into what little water remains or that you've added in. Always just refill the cooler, start fresh, start over 100%. It's usually one bag of electrolyte to one 5-gallon jug of water. You put those into the cooler, you're done. Don't get into measuring and stuff. Typically, our electrolyte sponsors have already figured out the science of their drink mix. That's just keep it simple. Once the canopy, tables, and fluids are up and running, you'll move on to the food. HPRS will provide you with cutting boards, knives, condiment spreaders, ladles, spatulas, and any other items you may need to prepare foods at your station. You're welcome to bring your own from home. We just ask that you please take them home with you, because if you leave it with us, there's no guarantee that you're ever going to see it again. You'll be cutting up fruit, making any variety of wraps like peanut butter and jelly, turkey and cheese, avocado and hummus, Nutella and banana. Hell, you might come up with some new invention of your own. We've had people make a cheese quesadilla with melted gummy bears in it before. You might have a stove where you make cheese quesadillas, bacon, tater tots. With all of these items, we ask you to cut them up into 1-inch bite-sized units. Oranges should be peeled and each segment of the inside of the orange separated as the 1-inch units. Watermelon and bananas should also be sliced into 1-inch units. You can really stretch the food at your station if you cut them up into these bite-sized chunks. If you leave them too big, runners will eat half a banana and then throw the rest out. In that case, you're just wasting food and you're going to run out quickly. Trust us on this one and cut things up small. Also, be careful not to put everything out all at once. Think about how many runners will be coming through your station, and yes, we'll provide you with this information as well. In ultras, or in just any trail race, runners can be spread out over many miles and many hours. Don't put yourself in a situation where the food is going bad just sitting out in the elements. Only put out what you need and keep the rest stored away for later. Finally, please keep in mind that if you run out of one food item at your station, you have plenty of other food items to fill the gap. It is not imperative that we have a lifetime supply of jelly beans at an aid station when there are other forms of candy to provide. If you've run out of oranges, you may have watermelon. If you run out of tater tots, maybe you have some potatoes. Don't freak out if you run out of a food item. Pivot and improvise. There's always food. We've never run out of food at an HPRS race, ever. Now, during COVID, we got away from runners grabbing at the foods on our aid station tables themselves. Removing grazing from races has been a godsend for sanitation purposes. People used to just dive their fists into the bowls after doing God knows what with the lube and stuff. So moving forward, we're asking our volunteers to serve runners whatever food they want with the tongs and scoops we provide your station for serving. Our races are also cupless, meaning all runners have been told that cups are not provided at our aid stations. From time to time, your station may see cups at its station, and they have been provided for warm foods only. Cups are to be used for coffee, cocoa, tea, broth, and soup. Do not allow runners to use your cups for water, electrolyte, or soda. Again, cups provided are only for hot liquids. Runners need to have their own cup for water, electrolyte, and soda. If they don't have a cup, ask if they have a water bottle on them. It could be a handheld, a body bottle, whatever it is. They can use that, they can dump it out, and they can use that for water, electrolyte, and soda. When they're done, they can rinse it out at the aid station and refill it with whatever they please before continuing on. Soups are typically reserved for aid stations where there is a nighttime component or temperatures indicate that hot foods are necessary for runner health and safety. You may be provided with bacon and or tater tots. These are all very popular items that will go fast, so just pace yourselves. Finally, we tried our best to put latex gloves into the aid station supply bins for you all to use when handling foods, so please use them, and you're also welcome to bring your own. One more tip. It's windy everywhere we host a race. There's wind. Typically, we ask that you roll up a piece of duct tape backwards. So it's kind of like a piece of double-sided tape, and one end goes on the underside of a bowl or the foil pan we give you, the plates that we have for you to put the foods in. So you'll put the duct tape between whatever the food holding item is, like a bowl, and the table, and that'll prevent it from blowing off in the event of a sudden gust of wind, okay? Now, once the aid station is ready for runners, the food is prepared and out, your focus shifts. You'll be making sure that the aid station remains well stocked and ready for runners that come through. You'll be serving runners food and drink. You'll be making more wraps. You'll be cutting up more fruit. But you'll also be helping us with your most important job, which is runner tracking. All runners are tracked manually by our aid station volunteers out on the course. Runners have been told to verbally announce their bib number upon entering and leaving an aid station. And they've also been told that their bib is to be in clearly visible location on their front so that you can record their information. We will provide you with a sheet that has every runner and their bib number on it. Next to their numbers, you'll want to record the time of day in military time. 1 p.m. is 1,300 hours, 2 p.m. is 1,400 hours, etc. That they run in and out of your station. We do not use chip timing at HPRS. If you have to make a choice between serving food with tongs and scoops or runner tracking, your priority is runner tracking. It is a vital piece of your job. If a runner is unaccounted for at the finish line, we go back to our aid station charts to locate where they're at. And so if we're missing a runner, if somebody's unaccounted for, we go to those tracking charts to figure out where runners are. It is an incredibly important and imperative job. Please do so legibly and make it a priority. Now, if you're working in the aid station with a cutoff, it is incredibly important that you not let a runner continue past the cutoff time. I want to say that again. If you're working in aid station with a cutoff, it is incredibly important that you not let any runner continue past that cutoff time. No, nobody likes to be the bad guy that ends a runner's race. Everyone wants to believe that a runner can continue and still make it later. Cutoffs are in place for a reason. They ensure that all runners are off the course by the time our permit expires. They also help us in tracking runners still out on the course and in keeping the herd of runners contained over a specific distance instead of the entire course. Cutoffs have been set in accordance with the history of a race's results and or the slowest possible average pace one may move and still have a chance of making it. Simply put, we have already determined mathematically that a runner won't finish should they continue beyond the cutoff time for your station. And these cutoff times are leaving, not checking in. They're leaving. Therefore, they must be told that they may no longer continue and plucked from the course if they have not left by a cutoff time. If your aid station has a cutoff, there are no exceptions. No runner is to continue past the cutoff. Now, should a runner choose to not continue for any reason, they have been instructed to immediately notify race staff at the next aid station. Should they drop from the race while out there, they know they could be waiting a while before receiving a ride back to the start-finish. If you can provide a dropped runner a ride back, please do. If you can personally drop them off, they appreciate it, and so do we. Otherwise, if your station has crew or spectators at it, please ask some of them for an assist. So you go up to runners' crews, anybody going back to this, can you give this runner a ride? This is commonplace in our sport, and is part of what makes this a community endeavor. When you or someone else drop them off, the RD needs to be notified immediately of their status. We'll want to know the bib number of any runner who you bring in ASAP. In fact, we want to know the second that they drop from the event, we need to know, as well as the bib numbers of all other DNFs and drops. In your aid station supply bins will be a white binder. This binder will have a copy of the volunteer manual, race roster, a sign for your aid station. Please do hang it up. You will also have a copy of your emergency action plan, which outlines what to do in the event of any number of emergencies that may arise. Each event has an up-to-date emergency action plan, and it is highly recommended that all HPRS medical staff and aid station captains read this manual and the EAP in their entirety. Finally, we try our best to guess the amount of time you'll be helping us out at your aid station. Sometimes you may be closing and cleaning up sooner than you thought. Other times, you may be waiting a bit longer for the final runners to come in. Please never leave your aid station location until all runners have been accounted for. Use the roster we provided you, as well as updated DNF and DNS information, to keep an accurate accounting of who has not checked in. You should not leave your aid station location, even if just one person stays behind, until everyone has been accounted for. As a runner, there's nothing worse than coming into an aid station and seeing everything packed up or having nothing and no one there to make sure you're even alive. Consider how you would feel if you were running and arrived at an aid station location and no one and nothing was there. Please stay until everyone is accounted for, and we're here to help. You yourself are not stranded. This is why the runner tracking is so important. It allows us to get the most up-to-date information to figure out where a runner could be. And if that information isn't jiving, if it's not making sense, we can call them. We can call their emergency contact. There's a lot that we can do. We're here to help. We're not going to strand you for hours or days. In general, I would say you may be asked to stay behind for an extra hour or two at the most. It doesn't need to be everyone. Just one person's enough, just so we know somebody's there for when the runner arrives. Now, what's provided? In the week before the race, we're going to communicate with you. We're going to give you all of these things. You're going to get a Google Drive with an aid station supply list for all stations. If you don't have something, you'll be able to tell a runner what aid station does have it. You'll have directions to your aid station location. You'll have access to the volunteers manual, the medical volunteers manual, a copy of the emergency action plan, and helpful race reminders. You're also going to be receiving all of the information that the runners get. You're going to get their pre-race email. You're going to get the runner's manual. Your station will be provided with all of your supplies within big black storage totes, coolers, and your garbage can. From time to time, we forget to provide you with something. It's okay to improvise. And people forget, people screw up. We're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. We might forget something. Make it work, right? But we're going to give you all of the supplies required to take on this job. Now, finally, some of you may have volunteered in this position before at another race or another race series, and I'm so very glad you're interested in helping us at HPRS. But please do keep in mind that every single race and every single race series has their own way of doing things. Just because they do it a certain way at Leadville doesn't mean that the NAR runners do it the same way, or Mad Moose does it the same way, or that we do it that way at HPRS. If you're not sure, ask questions. Some things may not make total sense to you, but they are the way that they are for a reason, and those reasons make sense to us. Before providing any feedback at the end of your time with us in this role, consider if it needs to be provided for health and safety reasons, or if it would be a nice to have. Then keep the nice to have suggestions to yourself, and the health and safety considerations should always be communicated appropriately. So what am I saying here? I appreciate your feedback. I appreciate that you all want to be helpful. At this point of my making this video, I've directed near 70 ultramarathons, more than anybody in Colorado's history. I've got this down to a science. We do it a specific way at HPRS. I'm sure you mean well. I'm sure you just want to help. But unless it is a serious health and safety concern, we're good. We got it. Thank you. And I hope you'll come and help us again. Now, for all of our volunteer positions, you'll receive an email about 2 weeks out from the event reminding you that you signed up to volunteer for one of our upcoming events. We'll ask you to let us know if you can no longer make it for whatever reason so that we can find a suitable replacement for you. In general, we ask that you please mark your calendar right after you sign up for a volunteer position with us so that you are not surprised when you receive this reminder email. During the week leading up to the race, you'll receive communication from HPRS about the logistics for your position on race weekend. We'll let you know the who, what, when, where, and how of what you'll be helping us with. We provide all of the supplies you'll need to do your job with us. Again, we direct over a dozen of in-person events throughout the entire calendar year and in multiple states. We typically wrap up one event before we move on to the next, so please be patient with us when it comes to our communication. We've not forgotten about you. It's just not your turn yet. You will receive thorough communication and in plenty of time to prepare for race day. I hope this wasn't too much. I hope this hasn't scared you away. I think being an aid station volunteer can be a really good time. Actually, I think it's more fun than running in these ultramarathons. And so I really do encourage you to take this on and embrace it and have a good time. It is a big job. It's a lot. It can be a lot of hours, a lot of time, a lot of effort. It's not lost on us. It's very much appreciated. We need it. All of these events need it. If you don't do it with us, please do it with somebody else. It's a lot of fun. It's a hoot. But there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it. And we are relying on you to help us host a very successful event and making sure that every participant at HPRS and every volunteer feels valued and cared for at the utmost. So I hope to see you out there on race day.